You're in the right place at the right time, stretching from the distant spaceports of Batu, Tatooine, and Chad, all the way to the bright center of the galaxy at Imperial Center, slamming into your holoprojector like a supercharged nanoparticle of coaxium. This is the Star Wars Unfiltered podcast. I'm John, he's Jason, and we're here to bring you your needed dose of Star Wars film, TV, book, comic, gaming, and collecting news. It is June 8th, 2022, and we got a new review of the latest Obi-Wan Kenobi episode. Jason, how's your week been?
Terrible. I'm sick, or I'm getting over being sick. So
Oh man,
I
not
got,
COVID though.
as far as I know,
Yeah,
it's some cold. It's going around the house. Tested negative.
man,
So
in June of all
as
times.
as accurate as those home tests are, that's
Yeah,
as far as I know. But
yeah, yeah.
sore throat, viral pink eye, sinus infection.
Oh man,
It's
that
real fun.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine was posting on Facebook about how he has like the flu right now. I'm assuming he's tested himself, so he knows it's the flu. But like he said, it's like worse than COVID with all his symptoms.
It,
Like
it's
he is
it's
just.
probably it's probably COVID. It's probably Omicron
It could be, but
4 or 5 or whatever number they're on now.
he's very knowledgeable about these things, so I would be under the assumption that he knows, but he is just like, I guess there's a bad flu variant that's going around too, and it's just like wreaking havoc. So who knows?
Yeah.
I'm amazingly not sick. I mean, I had bad allergies like a couple weeks ago, but other than that, I've been lucky. Um, yeah, not much going on. Let's see what. No, just even from Star Wars, aside from Obi-Wan episodes, I didn't do much like reading this week or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just kind of taking it easy. But so we saw the new episode this morning. What did you think about episode 4?
A lot of nagging little criticisms and issues. It's not.
Tell me more, Gene Siskel.
it it felt like filler. It felt like a filler episode
Mm-hmm.
because Leia's captured again.
Man, this is the Leia show. This is just
Well,
like straight up. Here we thought that she was going to be taken home to Alderaan like last episode, and then okay, maybe this episode, but no, she was captured, and I mean it's
it's only
fine,
6
but
episodes, and we're we're right back with Leia captured. We gotta rescue her again. You know,
yeah.
I don't
Um,
I don't get it.
it, it did seem to be interesting that they kind of foreshadowed some things in A New Hope, like when Riva was kind of probably not fully trying to break into her mind, but doing kind of like a little test interrogation, thinking that it'd be easy, and then like, oh,
Yeah,
Leia is strong-minded. So
yeah,
that kind of foreshadows A
I
New
thought
Hope.
it was kind of funny that Leia ends up, getting captured, getting taken to a fortress Inquisitorius, whose whole mission is to find Jedi, to identify Force adepts, to identify Force sensitive people, and process them, right? Kill them or indoctrinate them or whatever. That's their whole thing. That's what they do. And Leia goes there and it's like they don't know or whatever. I assume that that's just like some, you know, old EU esque, like latent
You know why? I know
ability.
why. I know why. It's
Oh,
because they don't have those little electromagnetic paddle things that were in the Jedi Academy trilogy that Luke used to test his prospective students
well, you
that
know
he
what?
found.
That's a really good. That actually brings up a really good point. Of they have a test, right? Even in canon, in true canon, George canon,
Midi-chlorians.
there's the midi-chlorian test. If they, okay, I can buy Vader on the Death Star interrogating a young senator, not necessarily, and then her resisting it, right? And I was going to say it might be like her latent, like force. What would you call it? Like specialization, right?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
that was really
exactly.
common in the old
Like a
EU.
strong-minded kind of
Yeah,
force
yeah.
user.
Like hers is that
Mental
she's
force powers.
right, which I think possibly was a hint that JJ tried to drop into the Force Awakens with Rey, but then of course that went off the rails. But
Right.
um, so I could buy like Vader not necessarily testing her, right? or he didn't have the
Hmm.
equipment or something, or he just didn't. He was like, wow, whatever. She's strong minded or whatever. It was also 77. It was, a lot of things got retconned and changed after the
Yes.
fact. So, but we're in 2022, post prequels. This is the Fortress Inquisitorius. Their whole thing is identifying Jedi, and they don't test her. They could do it, right?
It seems like they could just do it if they just drew blood and just saw her
Yeah,
midichlorians.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
and you'd think they would just do that as part of the processing or
right,
something when she's
right.
brought in.
So it's actually funny because you bringing that up swung me back around. At first, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is crazy. They can't identify her as a Jedi. And then I did a 180, and I was like, oh, but that makes sense because Vader ran up against the same thing in A New Hope, and they're
Yeah.
just kind of playing off of that a bit and like reinforcing that bit. But then you bringing up the the paddle things that Luke had in
Paddles.
the
Yeah.
EU reminded me of the midi-chlorian test, and it's like, well, then I did another 180, and it's like, well, what the hell are they doing?
There
It's
you
weird.
go.
It's weird.
There you go. I mean, to me, this is just one of those things. Yeah, it's, I wouldn't really call it a plot hole, but it's like it's a nitpick because you know what they could have done. But then this is also exactly the kind of thing that if there was a visual guide, Pablo would have some little like retcon inside the guide explaining why such and such didn't happen, just like the Falcon entering hyperspace
Yeah, I
in an
mean, I I
atmosphere. And
I could buy, the headcanon thing would be that it's like a lost technology or something, right? Or
right,
like they didn't, I don't know, they all got destroyed. It was like some Jedi thing, and they all got destroyed when the temple was taken over and stuff.
even Luke, when he found those paddles, I think it was when Wedge was there was like buildings in Coruscant that had been demolished during the Imperial Civil War when they retook Coruscant, and
Hmm.
Wedge went down into the debris of a building in some lower part of Coruscant and he found it, and then he inadvertently tested it or something on, or somebody or something. I can't remember the
Hmm.
details, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just kind of, it would be cool if they if you're gonna put Orabesh EU names on a wall in a safe house, why not just put the actual, force detecting paddles like as they are, like into the show in some way. I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
then
know.
that opens up a whole. If they do it, that opens up a can of worms. Unless
I
unless
guess
it was
so.
like she was about to test her, and
Yeah, and
then
then Obi-Wan
and
breaks
then
in.
yeah, and then everything breaks loose. That would have been cool, but
Yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't do that. So
right. It's funny, not to jump ahead at the end of the episode, but we are just jumping around. But like when they made their escape, and then Revo was like telling Vader, "I put a tracker on Obi-Wan." I was thinking like, well, Leia is the tracker. Like, there's something on her or in her or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
But then, like as it went on, I was like, oh, because I remember she was holding Lola. I was like, it's Lola, and then sure enough, the little red eyes light up.
I
So I
That
called it.
was probably my biggest problem with the episode was the implication that Vader got the idea from Riva,
Hmm.
It's that whole thing when
Oh, you
you're
mean the tracker, like on the
yeah,
Falcon in A
yeah,
New Hope?
yeah. Like it wasn't he like Vader's not clever. He got that idea from
No, I don't.
Riva.
Maybe they were hinting that for casuals, but I didn't think that that was what set Vader up. I think this is just a Star Wars thing that Lucas was the first person to do, and there's been like 100 stories where no, no, my lord, I put a tracker on him.
Yeah, but I think but the problem is that she tells Vader, right? She's interacting with Vader, and
Like, yeah.
it just comes off. It smacks of the OC, the original character in a show, sort of not one upping, but to
Making
to
him not
prop
look as cool.
yeah, to prop up the OC, to prop up this new character, you have to diminish the established character, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what it comes off as to me. Which so that was my biggest issue
yeah.
was
Well,
that.
uh,
I mean,
I was thinking,
aside from now Leia's whole thing being in the depths of the fortress and nobody figuring things out.
yeah, I would say, and each of these episodes, when I saw them, I pretty much liked them a lot, or in some cases loved them. But then the second viewing, was less good, especially like on episode 2. But when I revisited episode 3 this morning before the new one, I still really liked it. A pretty good amount, about the same as when I saw it, which was, whatever. But this one I did really enjoy. But then again, look at this episode. We've talked about this a million times. What kind of Star Wars do I like, Jason? I like Imperial bases and
Yeah,
stormtroopers and
I
blasters.
I will say that this episode I felt like had a better production value than
Yeah.
episode 3.
Yes.
So I was happy about that. But I feel like there was just kind of some sloppy choices.
There was still a lot of things that even for me felt like they were by the numbers. Um, but and oh, here's the other funny thing. So I thought it was cool that when they were, I guess they were on Jabeam at the beginning when Obi-Wan's in the back to tank.
Hmm.
By the way, that back to tank back and forth, that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
I like that.
felt, yeah, like
I
they have like
I
some
wish the
kind of
whole show
force
was
bond.
that,
I know, I
you
know. It
know,
started out really good.
because the
Um,
other thing too is, um, it's like so far it's like, why did you guys bring Hayden back?
I
He's
know,
not.
I
He
know.
doesn't do the voice. He's not in the suit. It's
They
what's his
wanted
name?
the physical presence.
Demetrius, uh, Bet Betrevsky or something, who's
Yeah,
like a
there's a
six
couple stunt
six
guys.
actor who's
Yeah,
doing a great job. Um, aside from the belt issue uh,
yeah.
earlier, which I guess we thought that it was maybe Hayden in the suit, but it really isn't. It's that Demetrius in
I
the suit.
read that Hayden is in the suit for certain shots, but anything with dueling was the stunt guys,
Hmm.
pretty
Okay.
much. That's what I read. I
Okay.
don't know the veracity of that,
Maybe. Okay. Still though.
but still, he should
Um,
be in the suit
but I
as
mean,
much as
he's good for in the
possible.
tank because it's good to get that consistency because he
Yeah,
looks, he even with all the makeup and stuff, you still need Hayden to make it look
yeah.
right. Um, yeah, I really like that part. Again, I was hoping that the whole show would be kind of like that.
It was really good. But anyway, that was a side tangent.
Right.
So I'm assuming that was Jabeam where they took him because they said all pathways in this network of resistance lead to Jabeam, or
Yeah, it's
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 kind of like the
Jabim.
hub.
It's Jabim.
Okay. And so it's almost like a little like pre-Rebel Alliance base. It's like resistance.
And they have
It's
really
a
good intel because they know all about Fortress Inquisitorius.
pretty much, although he did say like what we found out was when it was being built, and then they didn't know what the interior was like.
Right,
So,
right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, thank God they didn't have like full blueprints or whatever.
yeah. But it was cool that they mentioned the planet Nur, and then the fact that it was in the Mustafar system. I like that they clarified that for casuals, not
Hmm.
just people like me that knew. And
Vader's planet.
Vader's system. And what's funny is when they go to Nur and Obi-Wan and Tala are in the ship talking, and then he has to swim down in the depths and then come
Hmm.
up through the little side port. That's exactly what you do in Jedi Fallen Order. Like it's exactly the only difference is like in the game there's a cut scene where you see the fortress from a distance and it's like this artistic kind of shot,
Hmm.
but then your first real glimpse of it up close is when you're actually under the water swimming and you're seeing it as you approach it. And it's funny because like in the game it's very immersive, especially if you got your headphones on and stuff. And it's such a trip to be swimming slowly and to see this big dark, like almost like obelisk shape approaching in the water, and it's like
Yeah.
this giant fortress. So it was really cool. It was actually more cool in the game than Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Yeah.
but you know, that's one of those things. But
It was a neat scene
yeah.
because it was kind of a callback to the Phantom Menace with them swimming, and they got the
Yeah,
little rebreather thing, and
right.
that was neat and different
Yeah,
to see on screen.
right, right. So I liked seeing the hangar. I like seeing the different parts of the base. The little security droids, the spy droids are very similar, obviously, to the probe droid, which
Hmm.
is I think what they're going for. But there's a droid that is your companion in Star Wars Battlefront 2 by EA, and the design is almost exactly like those, although I think the one in Battlefront 2 is smaller and it can actually attach on your back when it's deactivated. and I think that's kind of the design they branched off from. But
Yeah.
so that was cool. And then obviously a lot of stormtroopers and this and that. I do think it's a little strange that someone can bluff their way around a giant fortress like this, but
Well, I mean,
it's Star
she
Wars.
has security clearance, but it was just weird that there was so much activity, right? Like, I almost feel like there should have been less people there.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was a lot of coming and going, and it just didn't seem like Fortress Inquisitorius would be that kind of place, like there where there would be a lot of in and out and activity. It would be more like kind of a like a very
Like a dungeon or something with just
yeah,
security.
yeah. But I don't know. You know, obviously they're doing other stuff there. They're probably processing a lot of. Honestly, they're probably processing a
Paperwork.
lot of. Yeah, pencil pushes. What's the matter? The Empire got you pushing too many pencils.
Yeah.
Um, it's probably they probably processing a lot of force sensitive kids and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
Project Harvester.
yeah.
Um,
So
what did you
that
think
makes
was gonna
sense.
be it down in that security area? Because I thought, oh, is it gonna be clones? Are we gonna see like what the Snoke thing came from, or
I almost
Mandalorian?
thought we were going to see that, but then at the same time, I was like, well, that wouldn't be on Fortress Inquisitorius, right?
No, that was my thought too.
So I didn't really know what to expect. Um,
It was almost like stasis booths, like
yeah. So then
almost. I
it
mean,
ended up
obviously,
being
I guess they're dead, and I was thinking maybe they're harvesting their midichlorians or their blood or something for
well,
experiments.
what I would suspect because it didn't seem like any of them were dead, right? Like it
Like
wasn't
it's
any
like
obvious.
stasis.
Yeah, it wasn't any obvious like, oh, this person, you know, their head's gone or
Yeah,
it's separated from their body or there's like a
right.
lightsaber wound in the chest. Um, so it seemed like it was stasis, and possibly the hint is that it's part of the whole. So it is still part of the whole cloning thing um,
Could
with
be in that
Palpatine because
regard.
they're you know the with Mandalorian and Grogu and the whole Mount Tantus and
Yes, I
uh,
think this is part of the connection.
so it could be it can like another piece of that larger puzzle
Yeah,
where they're keeping these Jedi
yeah.
in stasis for to harvest their midi chlorians and stuff for cloning tests and all that.
The stasis booths were almost like the ones in Star's End from Han Solo at Star's End, which is where the
Hmm.
corporate sector authority was keeping Chewbacca and Doc and all those other people that Han and his friends had to break out. And then,
Yeah,
but yeah, stasis booths aren't
um,
used very often in Star Wars.
it
So
was
interesting.
interesting because the way it was shot, it almost seemed like it was leading up to a sort of a big Easter egg, right? Like you were showing
Right,
Jedi after
right.
Jedi after Jedi, and you're almost like, oh, am I going to see someone I recognize? There was only one Jedi that I recognized. It wasn't even the last Jedi. I don't think in the whole sequence.
Who was it?
It was it seems like it's Tara Sinube from the Clone
Eris
Wars. He
Nube.
was the old
Hmm.
Jedi in that episode of the Clone Wars when what is it called? It's when Ahsoka loses her lightsaber.
I'm
She's like,
looking right now. Oh yeah, yeah. This guy kind of looks like a dinosaur. Or you know what? He reminds me of the elders in the Dark Crystal,
uh
kind of.
huh, yeah. So I think that was probably Tara Sinube.
Interesting.
Um, but I was expecting, you know, something bigger. I don't know, like Yaddle or something.
Yeah.
But it was
Well,
just like, okay, who's
Wikipedia,
that?
if that is him, and it's possible they've just not updated yet. It's not saying it's him on Wikipedia, but again, this is only just aired last night, this morning, so they might
Yeah, and there might
possibly
be a
change
delay
that.
with them confirming it. It might not even be
Yeah.
him. It just, you
It
know,
might
because
not even be confirmed. I mean, dude, if you want some comedy, just go to Wikipedia and read the Grand Inquisitor page. As I mentioned last week, I think it's like they're chickens with their heads cut off trying to figure out how to fit everything
I know.
in.
Well, hey, we got
Like
two
do we
more
split it into
episodes.
2 pages or one page? Like,
I almost thought maybe the Grand Inquisitor would be down in there too, like in
of course
stasis
he
or
did.
something. That's I think I said that I don't. It's not necessarily what I want to happen. I have changed that stance. It is absolutely what I want to happen because the alternative is
is that
devastating to
Rebel
canon.
is potentially thrown out, which, I mean, I would like some clarification when this series is over, whatever happens with the Grand Inquisitor, whether he's alive or not. I would just love some kind of clarification from Story Group as to how things are decided on as far as like,
It
are we
would
going to have to
be,
go to a ranking system now in canon, like the Legends was when Lucas, started Clone Wars, where there's G
you know what?
canon.
Like I've said, I still maintain a ranking system. There is at least two ranks. There is George canon, and then
Yeah,
everything else falls into its own thing. Like its
yeah,
own things. There's Disney canon, I feel like, and
right.
then old EU. I think there's, and then even in the old EU, there's obviously all sorts
Yeah.
of crazy stuff. But
You know, I don't want to stay on this too long, but I wanted to say in some of the early Bantam novels, it almost seems like there was a little thing at the beginning near the like contents where it would say these stories and characters are based on this author's version of Star Wars. If and when George Lucas decides to contradict these, that's all that really matters.
that
These are
sounds,
separate from George.
yeah, that sounds very familiar.
Yeah. It almost seems like I saw those like in either
Disney,
the Thrawn trilogy or like the Truce at Bakura. It was like an
yeah,
early Bantam
this
novel.
that's what
So
Disney needs to do. They need to have a disclaimer. If and when we have not been able to recoup our financial investment in the purchase of Lucasfilm and we have to sell it back to George for pennies on the
yeah,
dollar,
yeah.
um, these stories are are
Thrown out
thrown out at that time.
fan fiction.
Um, anyway, yeah. So Obi-Wan goes down in the dungeon. He sees all those things. There's a youngling, which is kind of funny because he's still got
That
his
was
hat
pretty
on.
morbid. Yeah,
But he's still got
I
his
know,
hat.
right?
It's like, come on, man. Well, then the funny
They had
thing
to
is
make it
like,
clear to the audience that it was a youngling, I guess.
it's the funny thing is like, so is the fifth brother just wearing a youngling hat for
I know,
adults?
right?
Like, it's kind of weird.
I know. Yeah. Tala mentioned when she was kind of trying to distract Riva, like send the forces to Florum. I was like, I know that planet name. That's where I think Hondo, when in like season 1 or 2 of Clone Wars, he was on
Mm-hmm.
Florum.
Hmm.
That was like where his base of operations was, I think.
Oh, how
So
great would it be if Hondo showed up? That would
I
save the
know,
show.
right? And actually, he's one of those characters. Obviously, I know he's at Galaxy's Edge in the Millennium
Yes.
Falcon Smuggler's Run. He's probably because the fact that he's a Weequay and it's easy to age or not age. Sorry, not age an alien.
Yeah.
Uh, they can have him be in all three eras. He can be in the prequel, classic, and sequel era.
Well, do we know how long weakways live?
I don't think we know, so
Yeah,
we can
so they
just
could live.
assume.
They could be like Wookiees and live for hundreds of years.
Right, right. As long as Jim Cummings doesn't die,
Yeah.
you know, or his voice doesn't, change too much. Actually, I mean, even on this episode, I know we talked about it last time, but James Earl Jones is still killing it as Vader, sounding great. Um,
Yeah.
you can't tell the fact that he's 90 or whatever.
I can't tell if it's AI assisted or not. I would be interested.
And whether it is, well, so be it.
It
It
doesn't
sounds
matter.
great.
I'm curious from a technical standpoint of, are they doing that? Because that
Yeah,
would be neat if they're able to do that. So
yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
anyway,
So
so he
yeah,
goes through the thing. Leia's getting interrogated,
very
which,
slowly. The arms of that thing were like,
well, there was some things. The
it's
room
like
is
two
really
minutes of
big.
the arms coming down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really weird because the arms are, or the room is really big, right? Which
yeah.
is fine. I felt like it was a little too much reminiscent of The Force Awakens versus. I almost would have liked to have seen an interrogation droid show up. That
That
would,
would have been cool. A little callback for what happens later.
yeah.
Call forward.
Um, but that yeah, the arms going in. I almost expected her to drop Dantooine to try and lie. That would have been
I
funny.
thought there was going to be some kind of lie, and it would be funny if it was
Dantooine,
Dantooine.
yeah, that's like her go-to. That's all she could think of, is
I
Dantooine.
know, right? Right.
Um, but then what is it? Obi-Wan breaks her out, and uh, so
Very Ahsoka. It was like where the stormtroopers are all in the dark, and then his lightsaber ignites, kills one, turns off. Stormtroopers
Yeah,
like, and then it turns on. It was like that was very Ahsoka
yeah.
like. That was
I
cool though.
I think so. I think this scene actually, in particular, sort of solidified what my problem with the modern lightsaber effect is, especially in these shows where it's like a practical effect for the most part. I mean, I know it's like it's probably touched up, but even in the prequels, the lightsabers always felt very ethereal and very glowy, and it was like an effect, right? But in these shows, and especially in the scene, it was very much like, oh, it's there, like that's a physical thing. Because
Yeah.
he actually at one point like hits the stormtrooper like he's smacking him with a baseball bat. It like
Right.
bounces off, and you're just like, I don't think lightsabers are supposed to do that.
Because it would just cut through like
Yeah,
butter.
he like hits him once and then he hits him again and it goes through and I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching?
I know. Does
Um,
he have like a Cortosis
I
stormtrooper armor?
know, which if they just put the stormtroopers in black, I could fix that with headcanon. But these are just normal stormtroopers in white armor. So
Exactly. We did see that black one, which I couldn't tell if it was quite a Death Trooper because
yeah,
it had a shoulder pauldron which was
right.
red and it was slightly different. Some people were saying we were going to see, I don't know if it's still coming or if we already they're in the background. People were saying we were going to see purge troopers in this series, which is again from Jedi Fallen Order, who are specifically designed for fighting Jedi,
Hmm.
and they have like they look like a Death Trooper, but they got red visors, and then they have like Force staffs
They
that
sh-
can
they should have
like
had
fight a
that.
lightsaber.
They should have had that
I know.
because I will go into there's a couple of issues with stormtroopers in this episode, but um,
Cannon fodder.
so that solidified what my issue is. It is that it's too much there. Like it's cool. Like I get it. They're doing it for the
Yeah.
lighting, right? It is cool, but
Yeah.
they need to make the lightsabers more ethereal. I think more glowy, and it they lose sort of a like a mystical element to
Hmm.
them. Because I've read some people theorize, I don't know why, but that the lightsabers when two Jedi's are in combat and the lightsabers are clashing, that's actually them using the Force. It's not because the
Heard
lightsabers could
similar
just
things.
yeah. I don't think that's not my theory, right? With how
I've heard people
stormtrooper
say
or
that,
how
or does it become like the Schwartz where they just twist around each other?
right. That's not my theory is how lightsabers work, but I've heard
I would
that
say no, but
postulated, and I thought that was an interesting theory.
actually, what it actually is, it's a quick time event, and you just got to keep tapping
Uh
A
huh.
or
Yeah.
triangle.
Um. So, but you lose that, and not that that's what was really happening, but if the lightsaber is bouncing off the effing stormtrooper, then that's not how they operate. That's not
That's
how it
not
works.
how lightsabers work.
So the scene is cool, but it kind of falls flat because of
Yeah,
issues. The other
I'm at
issue I had. Oh,
Oh,
so
let me just mention real quick.
uh huh.
I'm at Wikipedia, and Kosian is listed as a species, and that is Terra Sinube is a Kosian, so
Uh
they have
huh.
at least confirmed that that was one in stasis,
Okay,
just not
so
that
it
it was.
almost it
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
was
probably
Sinube.
was him, but they just can't confirm it until somebody has like a possibly like descriptive audio. That's sometimes where
Yeah.
Easter eggs come out.
Right.
So
Right.
who
Right.
knows? Anyway,
Um, the other issue I had with stormtroopers. There's two main issues. One, when Obi-Wan ducks around like a beam or something when the stormtroopers are
uh-huh.
coming down the hallway.
They heard his comm link.
Yeah, when he
He didn't have an
ducks,
earpiece.
right, he didn't mute it. Um, when he ducks, they're already in the hallway. How the fuck did they not
I
see
know.
him? Like that's
Yeah,
sloppy. That's what I'm talking about earlier when I said there's sloppy issues. That's sloppy. Just
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
them. Just don't have it be so tight like that. Like he hears
Right.
them and then it's like what are you doing? Like that's like a consistency error or
There
whatever.
was another one you pointed out to me visually, showing me that episode where Obi-Wan runs to the right and then he
Yeah, that the
runs back to
180.
the
I looked it
left.
up later because we didn't talk about it on the podcast. We talked
No,
about
we
it after the
didn't.
fact, but it really bothered me because I noticed it right away. It's the 180 rule of filmmaking where there has to be consistency with the movement of characters across the screen, and
Right.
he sees
He broke it.
Vader. They broke
It
it.
was
They
glaring when I saw the episode again this morning.
Right.
Having seen it again, it was glaring. It makes it look like he just ran back to where Vader
Yeah,
was.
he runs. He sees Vader. You see Obi-Wan. He runs screen right, and then when it goes to the next shot, he runs back into the scene or back into whatever the shot is. He runs in screen right, but it's a different area. So
But it looks the same because the piles of dirt are more or less
it's just piles of
visually the
dirt.
same.
So, and apparently filmmakers will break that when they're trying to go for a certain effect or whatever.
Sure.
But the show's not going for that effect. If that whole cat and mouse thing in the piles of dirt was longer, that would make sense. If this was shot by Stanley Kubrick and this was like a maze,
it would definitely make sense then.
and this was like a maze-esque scene like from The Shining, then it would make sense. This is not
Lucas. Lucas was really good at those kind of things.
Yeah, because Lucas is like
he's a very visual.
He's a visual
and he's an editor guy.
All of Star Wars is callbacks to older movies that he loves and stuff. But anyway, this is not Kubrick, and this is not The Shining. So the 180 rule they break.
Yeah, there was another thing like that with the stormtroopers in this episode. I don't remember the specific circumstances, but there was something like it that I saw, and I'm like, oh, they did a similar thing again. It's like someone's sloppy on the editing.
Maybe
I'll
my
catch
rewatch
it next time.
Yeah, maybe on my rewatch. So anyway, I had an issue with him ducking to hide because the stormtroopers were already in the hallway, so they would have seen him.
Yeah.
And then also when Tala, takes those two stormtroopers out, when she's getting escorted out, she just smacks one upside the helmet, and that's enough to like disable him for 10 seconds.
I was under the impression that she grabbed his helmet and shifted it a certain way.
She did that to the second stormtrooper. The first one she just smacks.
All right.
What they should have just had is her pull out like a blaster or something real quick and shoot them both or something. It was just sloppy. It was another instance of just sloppy choreography. Which, there's other issues with sloppy choreography later, but those were the two big issues with the stormtroopers I had. It was like, what are you doing?
Overall,
now I will say, related to Obi-Wan ducking around that pillar, later on when he's rescuing Leia and they're going through the hallway and he's deflecting the shots and stuff with his lightsaber, he hits the glass with one of the shots, starts to crack. He's holding the water back, and then long enough for the stormtroopers to get that door open, then he lets the water go and then he runs. I almost expected them to do a Phantom Menace-esque force speed thing, right? To beat the water hitting the thing. That would have been really cool. Now, related, the same thing. When he's ducking behind the pillar, if he had done a Phantom Menace-esque force like shimmer thing that him and Qui-Gon do at the end of that hall when they're running away from the destroyer droids, that would have been cool. But they didn't do that. They could fix it in post almost,
I'm assuming Obi-Wan's force powers are... He's like Kyle Katarn at this point. It's starting to kind of come back, I guess.
Yeah, well, I would say so because it's weird.
Remember he did that little test on the ship where he's like moving the little piece of metal. And...
Yeah, he's like doing that, which reminded me of Magneto at the end of, what is it, X-Men 2 or whatever. He's trying to move the
Wasn't it something in jail? Piece. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a chess piece because he's like playing chess, I think, in the park or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, they show that, and then he's able to he's deflecting shots and he's holding back all this water, which is like a lot, right? He's like, I feel like he's fully back there, possibly. So I don't know. I just felt like even now they could go back and fix it, just make him run faster and give him a shimmer.
This whole scene was very reminiscent of another scene from Jedi Fallen Order, which is almost exactly the same, but you'll see when you play it.
Well, apparently the showrunner and Deborah Chow watched or played that game.
This whole episode was basically the end of Jedi Fallen Order. My nitpick for the episode, because overall I really... Pretty much just one. I
Okay.
really liked it because again, this was the Weston Games Imperial base starter kit. Here's the adventure, break the character out. You gotta, use some codes to get indoors. You gotta take out some stormtroopers. It was very classic Star Wars in that way. So I liked it
I
overall.
liked all that. I liked those elements of it.
Yeah. But my one kind of nitpick, and again, it's like whatever, but I still had to be like, come on, was when Obi-Wan had the Imperial trench coat on and Leia's
Oh
under it.
Jesus, jeez,
And
yeah.
I was just like,
That's
oh,
on
and
that's on
no
my
one's
list.
saying anything.
That's
Like,
on my
there's
list.
no one in the hangar, as
He
busy
walks
as they
by.
are, that see a bearded, kind of fat
Yeah,
officer. Like, come
he's
on,
got the
come
hat
on.
on, the coat. He walks by the fifth brother and whatever sixth sister or whatever. I don't
Yeah,
remember
the other
her
one, the
fourth
Twilight looking
sister,
one.
I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
he walks by that. What's like, what the hell? What are you doing? It's Imperial security's a joke. Nobody's paying attention. It's like I almost
Uh,
expected. You know, the only thing that would have been worse is if he put Leia on his shoulders and
I
had her
know,
wear the hat. It's like, come on.
I know. That was awful. That was really
It's
awful. I mean, you
lazy.
might as well like okay, let's just brainstorm in like 10 seconds. What would be a better way to show that? How about they climb into a cargo container that's pushed by a droid, like
Yes.
on a loader, and
Yes.
then they're guided towards a ship or
Right.
something. I mean,
Yeah.
but okay, they had to have a face off with Riva, and
They could
now
still do that. They could still
they
do
could
that. She
still
could
do it.
still
They could
run out
still
onto
do
the
it.
platform
I know.
right as they're
Now, I
about to
will
leave.
say, seeing some T-47s again, I don't believe they've been used in any TV, live action TV or movies since The Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-mm.
So that
Yeah, I
was
don't.
interesting that they
Yeah.
used them. However, two T-47s against an Imperial fortress in like
Oh my
Vader's
God.
system. Wow, you might as well just
Yeah,
like
that's a
toss
huge,
a toss a piece
huge
of
issue.
fruit.
It's a huge issue. Okay, so we got past. I had that on my notes. The Imperial security. Um, that whole scene. Okay,
Right,
you're going to the Mustafar system. They've already established that Vader isn't there. He's on his
right.
ship. Okay, so he's on whatever, the Devastator or something. He's on
Yeah,
probably on an Imperial Star Destroyer. So it's at
right.
least
In
one Star Destroyer
hyperspace.
somewhere, right?
It's probably en route, which is why it shows up at
Okay,
the end.
so where is the Star Destroyer? Because they say he's off system, then they escape, and there's issues with the whole. There's issues with the escape. Okay, so they
Maybe
escape,
Vader just came in a shuttle. Maybe that's it.
but the
Maybe he
Star
just
Destroyers. Well, yeah, I don't know.
it's
Maybe.
possible. It's
I
possible. He
don't know.
just
I
came on a
mean, maybe,
shuttle.
but still,
A
it's
couple
like
TIE
the way they
fighters.
do it is, well, there's issues with the Tie Fighters. Um,
T-47s. They're like one of the weakest vehicles in like Rogue Squadron and like all
dude,
these other
they
games. Like,
already established in that hangar there is tons of Tie Fighters hanging from the
yeah,
top,
yeah,
ready to go.
right.
Okay, they get away. Okay, it's one airspeeder at that
It
point
won.
because Riva
Yeah, yeah,
destroyed one, and they didn't deploy the Tie Fighters to go
yeah. I
capture because
know. I know.
it the way it's shot. Okay, they escape in the airspeeder, and then it goes to Vader being pissed off at Riva and that whole scene.
Right.
Then it goes to the airspeeder
Getting
docking,
airlifted
getting
by that bigger
airlifted by
transport.
the transport. They're still in the atmosphere. What the fuck
Yes.
are they doing?
I'm
What the
assuming
fuck
it
are
must
they
have been
doing?
miles and miles away. Obviously,
It doesn't
headcanon,
matter.
but
They would deploy the Tie Fighters,
oh yeah, they
and
would.
it's so easy to fix. Just have the airspeeders take out the fucking Tie Fighters. They didn't
I
do it.
have a larger squadron of airspeeders distract the TIE fighters
Something.
while Obi-Wan and Leia and Tala get
Oh,
away.
and when the airspeeders come up into the hangar, they like fly into the hangar, right? And then later they
Yeah,
establish that they can like hover and stuff, which
that was a
that
little different. I
that
was like,
was
okay, those air brakes are really
okay.
tight on
Anyway,
those
I don't want to talk about
T-47s.
that yet. They fly into the hangar. It looks okay. They're not banking off or anything, right? They're like strafing the stormtroopers and stuff on
Right,
the ground. They're
right.
not banking off or anything. It looks like they're just going to crash into the wall. The way that's shot.
I know, I know. I thought that too. I was like, wait a second. You can't just like fly in at that speed and then just stop in a T-47. No way. No
And
way.
you wouldn't stop in an airspeeder because they have no shields.
Okay,
Like,
if they could have done that in The Empire Strikes Back, there would have been snow speeders hovering at the necks of the walkers and immediately surgically striking
well,
each
then
and
they'd have to worry about the ATSTs taking shots at them. So I
still,
understand why they
but
wouldn't do it,
still.
but then in this they would have to worry about whatever defenses there are. I don't know. They
I
should have
assume there's turrets or something. I thought there would be turrets on the
something,
fortress. Yeah.
something,
Like
maybe
panels would open
maybe some
and
ships
turrets.
up in the thing. I mean, I guess what I would assume is that the transports on the other side of the planet or the moon, the airspeeder is just low level, like right, really low on the
Yeah,
ocean to avoid detection or whatever.
that
But
could
still,
be.
it was just
There's
ridiculous.
always headcanon ways, but
Yeah,
it's more fun when we don't have to headcanon.
yeah,
It's just
it's
clearly,
just executed. It's another sloppy job
yeah, yeah, it
of
is. Man,
setting
I
up the
don't care.
shots.
I don't care though. I love the episode. It was great. It was
Um,
good. It was
the
fun.
I don't know now. Again, with the airspeeders and the whole hovering thing, I don't know what they thought it was going to look like when Riva was deflecting the shots of the airspeeder.
Hmm.
Uh, whatever they thought, that's not it. That looked really goofy to me. It just didn't.
Mm.
It's too wild, right? Like,
I'd
I
have
don't
to
know.
see it again. I didn't. Nothing
It
stuck
just
out to me,
it just
but
didn't
I'd have
look
to see it
great.
again.
I don't know. Like, I don't
I
know.
thought it looked fine
Maybe it
going from
goes
my
back
memory.
to the character and stuff. And she just doesn't come off as very threatening, even when she's interrogating Leia and stuff. It's
I just
just
keep
not.
thinking it's like a teenager, like a 14-year-old chick,
Well, I'm
like
sitting
trying to
there.
scare a
Yeah,
10-year-old.
you know what it almost reminds me of. It reminds me of if Emmanuel Lewis, if Webster was an inquisitor, right? Because
Yeah,
and that's not to say that they look all that similar, but
but they have a baby face
they have a
and
baby face.
the voice. They don't have a threatening voice. It's
She doesn't.
very.
Yeah, she doesn't have a.
She just sounds like a little girl,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah, and again, I will continue to hold reserve judgment because that might be what they're going for in
Right.
her arc,
Exactly.
in her arc.
Exactly.
So, but so far, even with deflecting the shots of the airspeeder, it's like it didn't come off as cool because,
Yeah.
and I think part of it is the airspeeder's like 10 feet away from her. It just
Yeah.
looked goofy. You know, they had to get
Yeah.
like they tried to get like a tight shot to show her like moving to like deflect the shots, but I think it would have worked better in a wider shot where
Hmm.
the airspeeder was clearly further away.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
just I don't know. And then
Hmm.
instead of her hucking that battery or bomb or whatever the hell it was at the airspeeder and then it blowing up the airspeeder, it probably would have been cooler is if one of her shots took out that airspeeder, one of her deflecting shots
Yeah. I
or
think you're right.
something.
I think you're right.
I think that would have saved that a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But
Also, the fact that we lost this guy named Wade or whatever, I love how there's like this major reaction from the other pilot, Tully or Sully, whatever it was, and then like the one guy, Roken, asks her when they all get back to the ship, and she's all sad because she lost her friend and
mhm,
co-pilot. But then like we don't even care. We didn't spend any significant time with this other
mhm,
pilot.
none.
It was just a purely telegraphed
Yes.
sadness. And it's like, I don't even care. Like, it's dude, even Dak in The Empire Strikes Back, we see Dak's enthusiasm and we have lines with him and Luke, and it builds up. And then we feel for Dak when we lose him. But
Well,
this
because
one, it
we
was
feel
just
for
like,
Dak because we feel for Luke because it's kind of like hinted at that there's like a relationship, right? Like they're
it was
squad
a
mates
buddy
and all that stuff.
system
Buddy
inside
system.
the airspeeder.
Yeah, so we're feeling it through Luke, but you know, we don't neither one of these characters we care about. It's like
I
you
know.
fuckers, the only two characters we really care about, three maybe. Three
Yeah.
is Leia, Obi-Wan, and Vader. Okay.
Right.
Everything
You
else
know,
is
I
just
I think
extra.
this goes back to also the fact that, dude, these episodes are too short. I looked at this one; it's 37 minutes. That's with credits, which is like 5 minutes. This is like a 32-minute episode. If they're gonna do a limited series and it's 6 episodes, make each one an hour so you can kind of spread out a
And
little
make
bit
them
more and
denser.
make them denser, and then you can add scenes that give more uh gravitas to the fact that we lost this pilot, just like a 2-minute scene where we maybe get
Oh,
to know him and what he
yeah,
lost to the
maybe
Empire or
him and
something.
Obi-Wan like have scenes together at the beginning when he's like rehabbing
Yeah,
and healing up,
yeah,
but they can't do that because they have to move everything so fast because it's like, okay, well, how long is Leia going to be in the fortress, right? So
yeah,
we have to get
yeah.
this going on and stuff. So
Right, right.
I don't know,
I don't know.
or even
I
just
don't know.
have extra scenes like on the way. Well, I guess they didn't know that they were going to be there. That was kind of, they didn't expect
Still, there's
them to
some
show
way
up.
they could
So
have, even if it was cutting away and we're just getting a quick scene of the two pilots talking on the comm as they're flying. I don't know. There could have been something,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you know, it is what it is, I
um,
guess.
yeah. So those
Episode 4.
that's
There you
episode
go.
4. Yeah, it's great. It's a filler episode. Leia gets captured again.
Yeah, I guess I love filler because for me, I think this was my favorite so far. But again, it might just be the glow. We'll see how I feel when I rewatch it. I don't know, but I
There were a
do
lot of
love
things I
those.
liked. I liked the fortress. I liked
Yeah,
seeing Imperials and stuff. Um,
it's just cool. I just love seeing more of the Empire.
yeah. I feel like some stuff is still contrived. Like that whole thing with Tala interacting with that security chief to get into the
Uh-huh. Yeah.
fortress seemed it was very reminiscent of uh, Admiral Haldo and Poe. Just sort of like a scene thrown in to kind of got to stick it to the white man, type thing.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really have a problem with it, other than it just goes back to the whole like it's just like, what is Imperial security worth on the Fortress Inquisitorius? Apparently, it's
What
worth
is their security worth, or what
nothing.
is their super weapon development
I
engineering
know,
team's
right?
worth?
Yeah. Um, so, but overall, I really liked um, the Fortress. I thought the production value was really good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and now we got Evil Lola for
Yeah, yeah, Evil Lola.
episode, which I guess I don't know. I guess she slips it in when she's like handling the little droid.
Yeah, it must have been, or something in between that we didn't see. But
I gotta watch it again because how does she get Lola back? I assume. Well, I don't know. I have to watch it again.
yeah,
Maybe it goes back in her pocket or something. Maybe Riva
yeah, I don't
slips it back
know.
into her pocket.
I,
I'll have
I
to look.
don't know.
Hmm.
Overall, I really enjoyed this one though. But
Now I
again,
gotta watch it again.
there's nothing spectacular, but it was fun. It was just classic Star Wars, very fun. Again, reminded me of an old West End Games adventure, starring Obi-Wan though this time. And
Oh, and
uh,
speaking of Lola,
yeah,
I really don't like the implication of Vader getting the idea for putting the tracker on the Millennium Falcon, getting that idea
I
from
don't.
Riva.
We'll see how that turns out. But I was not under that impression.
Yeah.
But I thought, is that what they're doing? But I thought, it's used in Star Wars so much that
I kind of with that scene though too when he's chiding Riva. Uh, again, I more and more I love the fifth brother and just
yeah.
his like he got that smirk on his face when Vader's about to
Hmm.
kill Riva. But I can see where they're going for it is like it's still only 10 years out from Revenge of the Sith, so Vader's kind of more impulsive and
Yeah, yeah.
like visibly angry. Whereas
Right.
in the OT, he feels more reserved.
Yeah,
So far in that, like, if he's mad and he's going to kill you, he just does it, right? He doesn't like
right.
storm into the room. And,
So-
it just,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It didn't, there's something about it. Just, it didn't feel right to me. I feel like he should have, like, just walked into the room and just, instead of storming into the room and sort of violently.
Welcome, Admiral Harkov. We have a matter to
Right,
discuss.
exactly. Or when he kills Ozzel,
Yeah,
or he kills
yeah.
Captain Nita. It's very
Right.
and there's a lot of dry humor, right? Even when he chokes
Hmm.
Krennic in Rogue One, he's
Don't choke on your
right.
aspirations.
There's just sort of this muted, dry humor
Yeah.
with the violence. But at the same
Right.
time, he's physically choking. Is it? I think it's supposed to be Captain Antilles,
It's
right?
Captain Antilles.
And then he
Yeah.
throws him against the wall. So, they might be going for more of
New Hope
a New
Vader at
Hope
the
Vader
beginning.
versus.
Find those plans.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
screaming at him. So I could see
Yeah, but
that.
no, you're right though. There is more subtle Vader through, especially throughout the Empire Strikes Back and most of A New Hope. It's very subtle.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's rare that Vader's pissed off.
but I could see him being really pissed off about Obi-Wan getting away.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
a
for
fan.
sure.
Not a fan is of him getting the idea for the tracker system, getting it from Riva.
Yeah, we'll
But we'll
see.
see.
We'll see how
We'll
that
see.
turns out. I mean, also, it might take someone saying in an interview that that's what they did, but who knows? Maybe we'll find out. Um, I don't believe I have any more. I have no more notes on this. I think I've given all my thoughts
No,
on the episode.
I think I've hacked away at this episode as much
Yeah,
as I
it's now just a stump.
can.
All the
Overall,
branches are missing.
it wasn't bad. And again, the production value was great, and seeing the fortress was great.
It
So
wasn't bad. I love it. That's the best we're
we're
gonna get
back
out
at
of you.
neutral, baby. We're back in neutral. We averaged back out to a C.
I know, right? Actually, I was slightly off topic, but I was thinking it would be interesting to at some point go through different Star Wars media, whether books, comics, movies. It'd be great just to compile like what are the things we love about otherwise Star Wars projects we are ambivalent about, like say The Last Jedi. Might
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to just have a positive things we can say about the sequel trilogy like list,
They're done. That's the positive thing I could say. They're
They're
done.
done. Oh, geez.
I don't have to spend
No,
any more money on them.
no, I would like to do one. I would
Okay.
like to do
Yeah, I
it.
could do that.
Because like, we've gone back and forth over the prequels. I mean, overall, we like the prequels since they came out, but obviously, we've had some
Yeah,
issues with the prequels.
let's do a
So
love it, hate it
love it, hate it.
for the sequel trilogies.
It'll be like the Keenan Ivory Wayans characters on hated it.
Oh
you
yeah,
know
yeah,
the
yeah. And in living color.
living color. Oh yeah, good times. Anyway, so that's an idea.
Hey,
But
do you have any predictions for the next two episodes? I mean, obviously they're going to go to
it's a good
what
question.
is it? Fallujah? No,
Luke.
It's not
Luke.
Fallujah. What's the planet?
Oh, Florum.
Florum. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Fallujah was a joke.
Right.
So they're going to get tracked. Do you think Vader's going to go to Florum?
That could be the case. I don't. The only real theory I have is that we'll see more of Luke. I mean, we have to. We've gotten him in a
I
glimpse, but
you
it's looking more and more like it's just going to be like the last 2 minutes of
yeah.
episode 6.
Well, you had mentioned. It was off the podcast. You had mentioned, like
The radio drama
yeah,
thing.
the radio drama thing.
Yeah,
And
the thing was Luke described 3PO. He and his friend Wendy had gone out when they were about 10 years old on a dewback. The dewback threw him off in a canyon, and then they got kind of scared when the suns went down. And then Ben found them and guided them back to the farm,
yeah,
where, of course, as every story with Owen, he got pissed and ran Ben off the
right.
farm.
I think that would be cool. I would
Yeah.
actually hope that happens. Something like
Right.
that happens.
Right.
Where Luke gets his toy, right? He gets his toy back, and Owen, even though he still has a problem with Obi-Wan and chases him off, he is grateful enough that he like lets Luke have
Lets him
that
keep
toy.
the toy.
Yeah, from Ben.
Right.
Yeah, I think that would be cool because we're getting down to the wire, and
We got 2 more.
Bonnie Peace, haven't seen much of her, and Luke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Seriously.
hopefully,
So yeah, that's more Luke is my big thing. But
Okay.
obviously, there has to be another Vader face-off. I think.
Oh Jesus
Maybe.
Christ! If there's not, it's like, what was the point, right?
I know.
Like if that's what you're gonna give us, it's like, get the
I
fuck
know.
out of here. I still think
Seriously.
that the Inquisitor is gonna show back up
Yeah.
because I have to hold out that hope because the implications of them just like thumbing their nose at canon,
Yeah.
especially
at Dave Filoni.
especially at canon that was I think Rebels was put out after Disney, right?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Fall
Disney canon.
2014.
Like that's
Yeah.
that's big. That's not
In
even like
fact, the very first scene, it's weird when it aired on TV, there was a normal version, but then there was a version. There was like, do you remember the channel? I think it's still on. I don't know because I don't have TV, but there's like Disney XD. Like that was their TV channel. That was kind of like Disney
yeah,
Channel,
that
but it
sounds
was
familiar.
like,
I haven't had TV in years, but yeah, that
yeah.
sounds familiar.
Anyway, but when I used to download rips of Rebels
Oh yeah, yeah,
before
yeah. I have.
Disney Plus.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't know anything about that personally, but a friend of mine would download stuff, and I would see
Yeah.
the
The Disney
XD
XD
logo.
promos.
If you would get it
So there was a
super,
version
you
of the
know,
very first episode of Rebels that was extended by like a minute or so, and I think it was exclusive to I think whatever streaming Disney had on a website at the time,
yeah,
like to catch episodes.
yeah.
Anyway, there was a version where the very first scene is Vader speaking in a hologram to the Grand Inquisitor in the very first scene of the first episode of Rebels. Like, look for these Jedi on this planet, or look on Lothal, or something like that. So, going from that implication, it would seem that the Grand Inquisitor is very important as a person in the Empire at that time.
Yeah,
So,
I would
and
think
that's only
so.
4 years after Obi-Wan Kenobi on the timeline. So, yeah, that needs to be rectified in some way. That has to be explained. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
there's always there's always he could just be cloning them over and over again.
it could be, or it's another Palin. We got this glimpse of this possibly the same Palin or
Oh,
another
no,
Palin,
no,
another
no. Okay,
depiction
he
of
has to
a
come back.
Palin
No,
in
he
Jedi
has to come
Survivor.
back. It gets too messy. It gets too messy. He has to come back.
Either he comes back. Well, even if he comes back, it's messy because he doesn't look the same. So it's like, should
Well,
we?
listen.
That's why
How
I'm
messy do you
happy.
want to make it?
Yeah, I know, I
Do you
know.
want it? Do you want to wipe up dog shit or
Yeah,
do you want to wipe up horse shit? Like, which
yeah,
they're both. It's
exactly.
both shit.
It's
So,
both shit, but thankfully, horse shit is full of grass and it doesn't smell as bad. So
well, there you go.
that would
I
be
feel like from my point of view,
road apples.
him coming back. Well, maybe that's why he looks so fucked up is because he's cloned, right? He's like Snoke. He's like a fucked up clone.
We've gone down that path where
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's because he's cloned. No, it's funny though, because this is like the lazy path of explaining things. Like when we have to, it's like Dark Empire. It's like we could have all these crazy theories about how Palpatine's spirit imbued itself into Vader's helmet when he was thrown down the Death
Right,
Star,
right, right.
shaft. But no, they just went the Dark Empire path, and it's just a clone with a throwaway line from Dominic Monaghan. So anyway, yeah.
Anyway,
So your theory is that the Grand Inquisitor will live, as we've seen,
yeah,
and
he's
okay.
like Badass, right? I live again.
Right. Uh yeah, okay. All right. Let's see what happens. We got 2 more episodes, just a couple more weeks, and time will tell.
Yep.
So, all right. I think we're good on our review of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention everyone check out our YouTube channel. Just look up Star Wars Unfiltered, where these will be posted. We're on Facebook, where things have been a little bit more active as of late. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, Star Wars Unfiltered at yahoo.com. And we're also on Instagram, so be sure to check that out. And until next week on the Leia and Reva show, next
Tala.
episode, and the Tala episode, everybody take care and may the Force be with you.
Good night.
What?